Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya, Naran Chaiva Narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 3, entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations, Text 16. Sura Surana Mudadhim Matnata Mandara Chalam Dadre Kamatharupena Prishtha Ekadashe Vibhuhu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Srila Suta Goswami continued. The 11th incarnation of the Lord took the form of a tortoise whose shell served as a pivot for the Mandarachala hill, which was being used as a churning rod by the theists and the atheists of the universe. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Once both the atheists and the theists were engaged in producing nectar from the sea so that all of them could become deathless by drinking it. At that time, the Mandarachala hill was used as the churning rod, and the shell of Lord Tortoise, the incarnation of Godhead, became the resting place, pivot of the hill in the sea water. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So in this chapter, we have been discussing about the various incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the very first chapter of the first canto of Bhagavatam, the sages who had assembled at Naimisharanya, they put forward 6 questions to Srila Suta Goswami. And the answers given by Srila Suta Goswami in reply to these questions forms the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. One of the questions asked by the sages of Naimisharanya was, why does the Lord appear in various incarnations? Please describe the wonderful activities of the Supreme Lord in his various avatars. In reply to this particular question, we are seeing Suta Goswami is replying in this particular chapter, the third chapter of the first canto of Bhagavatam, the prominent incarnations of the Supreme Lord, very briefly. In detail, these incarnations are discussed in the future chapters in various cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. But in this particular chapter, a very brief narration about the different forms of the incarnations of the Lord and their particular activities have been discussed in a brief manner by Srila Suta Goswami. So in the present verse that we just now read, 16th verse, Sura Suranam Udadhim Matnatam Mandarachalam. So here the 11th incarnation of Supreme Lord is being discussed. Here it is said, Sura Asuranam Udadhim Matnatam. Matnatam means to churn. Udadhi means the ocean. So there was the churning of the ocean of milk. And who did this churning? Suras and the Asuras. Now, very interestingly, Srila Prabhupada translates the words Sura and Asura as theists and atheists. That's a very interesting translation. Suras are called theists. Theists means those who have firm faith in the instructions of the Supreme Lord, the Devatas, the devotees of the Lord. They are called Suras. And the Asuras are called atheists. Atheists means those who do not believe in the Lord, those who consider themselves to be supreme, those who don't have faith in the instructions of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, they are known as Asuras. So both the theists and the atheists, they were engaged in the churning of the ocean of milk. And Mandara mountain, which is a solid golden mountain described in the scriptures, that was used as a churning rod. And Dadre Kamata Rupena Prishta Ekadashe Vibhuhu. So when this churning was going on, even though both the devatas and the demons were very powerful and they were churning the Mandara hill as the using it as a churning rod, they were churning the ocean of milk with Vasuki as the rope. And even though both the demons and the demigods were very powerful, they could not actually ensure that the hill was stable. So the hill started sinking down into the water. At that time, the Supreme Lord appeared in Kamatha Rupena. Kamatha also means tortoise in Sanskrit. Kurma also means tortoise. Kamatha Rupena. Dadre means he accepted this, he sustained. He sustained the Mandarachala hill as tortoise on his Prishtha. Prishtha means back, on his back. So this is the description of the Kurma Avatara. Of course, here in a very brief manner, the Kurma Avatara has been discussed. So let us go to the 8th canto of Bhagavatam, where elaborately Kurma Avatara has been discussed in 5 to 6 verses. So we will read a few verses from the 8th canto of Bhagavatam. So it is said, O son of the Pandu dynasty, this is what Shukadev Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj. When Mandara mountain was thus being used as a churning rod in the ocean of milk, it had no support. And therefore, although held by the strong hands of the demigods and demons, it sank into the water. So, very important point that is brought about here. Although the demons and the demigods were very powerful, they were holding the Mandara hill, but they could not check the sinking of the Mandara hill. That means we generally think that when we get some powers and abilities, we think that we are very powerful, we are so great, but actually we are not the greatest. There are so many limitations of our greatness or our capabilities. We are very limited. That is why the combined power of both the demons and the demigods could not sustain the Mandara hill. Actually, the Lord wants to teach both the demons and the devatas that they are not the absolute powerful controllers. Not even the devatas. Devatas are very powerful. They are actually managing the cosmic administration, but still they are not absolutely powerful. Their powers are all limited. So let's see what happened when the hill started sinking. Because the mountain had been sunk by the strength of providence, the demigods and demons were disappointed and their faces seemed to shrivel. This is very natural. When we come across obstacles in our activities, we generally become disappointed, isn't it? We lose enthusiasm to go further. So the same thing happened with both the demigods and the demons. Even though both of them are enemies, they made a truce, they made an agreement with each other and they jointly cooperated in the activity of churning the ocean of milk, desiring to get Amrita so that they can lead a long duration of life without disease and old age. But now, when they saw that the Mandara hill was sinking, they became very disappointed. So, let's see what happened next. Seeing the situation that had been created by the will of the Supreme, the unlimitedly powerful Lord, whose determination is infallible, took the wonderful shape of a tortoise, entered the water, and lifted the great Mandara mountain. So, this was created by the will of providence. That means the law, it was Lord's desire. It was happening according to the Lord's plan. A devotee always thinks that whatever happens is the Lord's plan. He never becomes unhappy. He never gives up his attempts to serve the Lord just because there are certain difficulties. All these difficulties are actually the will of the Lord. So one should have absolute faith in the Lord. So when this happened, when the Lord saw that the mountain had sunk and both the parties had become disappointed, the Lord appeared in the form of a huge tortoise, and he raised the sinking Mandara hill on his back. He lifted it very easily. It was not at all impossible for the Lord. So there's a very interesting purport to this particular verse. Let us read this. Here is evidence that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme controller of everything. As we have previously described, there are two classes of men, the demons and the demigods, but neither of them are supremely powerful. Everyone has experienced that hindrances are imposed upon us by the supreme power. The demons regard these hindrances as mere accidents or chance, but the devotees accept them to be the acts of the supreme ruler. When faced with hindrances, therefore, devotees pray to the Lord. Tattenu kampam susamikshamaano bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam. Devotees endure hindrances, accepting them to be caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and regarding them as benedictions. Demons, however, being unable to understand the Supreme Controller, regard such hindrances as accidents, accidental. Here, of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present personally. It was by His will that there were hindrances, and by His will, those hindrances were removed. The Lord appeared as a tortoise to support the great mountain. Kshitiriha vipulatare tavatishtati prishte. The Lord held the great mountain on his back. Keshava dhruta kurma sharira jaya jagadisha hare. Dangers can be created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can also be removed by Him. This is known to devotees, but demons cannot understand it. So, very important point Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport, that both the creation of the hindrances and the destruction of the hindrances are within the control of the Supreme Lord. The devotees know this. Therefore, the devotees do not become anxious for their own protection. Whenever they come across such hindrances, they know that it is the will of the Lord and they accept it as a benediction. So, why should a devotee accept such setbacks and hindrances as benedictions? Because that is an opportunity for us to become more dependent on the Lord. Whenever difficulties come, when we become helpless in front of the difficulties, it's an opportunity for us to realize how tiny we are, how limited we are. It's an opportunity for us to depend on the Lord, on His protection. Oh Lord, I'm surrendered to you. Whether you want to put me out of this difficulty or whether you want me to tolerate this difficulty, I am ready for both. You please do as you wish. This is the absolute surrender of a devotee. It is this mentality or consciousness of a devotee which attracts the Lord's attention. Everybody in this world, they pray to God whenever difficulties come in their life. Not everybody, at least those who are pious or those who are devotees of the Lord, they ask the Lord for protection against difficulties. But a pure devotee of the Lord does not ask even that. We see the example in the case of Prahlad Maharaj. Even though he was put into so many difficulties, he never prayed to the Lord to come and rescue him from those difficulties. He was simply absorbed in his activity of chanting the holy names of the Lord, fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And because of this kind of a complete absorption and surrender in Krishna consciousness, the Lord became very pleased with Prahlad Maharaj. So, the Bhagavatam is teaching us many things from the Samudra Manthana Leela. First of all, you may be the greatest Devata, but you are not unlimitedly powerful. You have your own limitations. So, better remain humble. So, humility, we have to learn humility. Second thing is, the Lord at His own will can create disturbances, and at His own will He can also destroy those disturbances. A devotee of the Lord should not be disturbed by such situations, but he should consider such disturbances as opportunities to depend more on the Lord. So, we also, when we come across difficulties in our life, instead of becoming disappointed, turn that disappointment into Krishna's appointment. It's an opportunity to remember Krishna more, to chant more Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Many times, unfortunately, what happens is because we are not aware of the principles of spiritual life properly, whenever difficulties come, we actually reduce our chanting. We compromise on our spiritual practices. That is actually the biggest mistake of a sadhaka devotee. In fact, when difficulties come, we should intensify our sadhana, intensify our process of chanting. We should increase more and more chanting. When more difficulties come, you need more strength, more protection of the Lord. Therefore, you must chant more and depend on the Lord. Have faith in the Lord's protection. We should never reduce our chanting, isn't it? Tattenu kampam susamikshamanaha. Lord Brahma praised this to Krishna in the 10th canto, 14th chapter of the Bhagavatam, where Lord Brahma says, when a devotee encounters miseries and disturbances in his life, he very surely understands that this is because of his own doing of the past, and the Lord has become so merciful, He has reduced the intensity of his suffering. A devotee thinks, oh Lord, I am so sinful, I should have suffered more, but your anukampa, your mercy has reduced my suffering. Actually, I should have suffered more, but you are so merciful, so you have reduced my suffering. So this is how a devotee should think. While thinking like this, one should tolerate all the difficulties, knowing very well that it is our own doing of the past because of which we are suffering. But the Lord is so merciful. Because I'm trying to become His devotee, the Lord has reduced the intensity of my suffering. Therefore, let me depend more on the Lord. Let me surrender to Him. So every difficult circumstance is an opportunity to surrender to the Lord. That is a very important lesson we learn. Let us continue some more verses about the Kurma Avatara in the 8th canto of Bhagavatam. When the demigods and the demons saw that Mandara mountain had been lifted, they were enlivened and encouraged to begin the churning again. The mountain rested on the back of the great tortoise, which extended for 800,000 miles like a large island. So this is very nice. The area of the incarnations of the Supreme Lord, it is very wonderful. The Lord is wonderful. Harer Adbhuta Karmanaha. So what was the uh, size of the tortoise, the Kurma Avatara? Here it is said 800,000 miles, 8 lakh miles. That was the huge size of the Kurma Avatara. And on his back, on the shell of the tortoise, the Mandara hill was resting. Just imagine. And when the Devatas and the demons saw that, oh, now the hill is stable. Now they again became enthused and they started continuing to churn the ocean. Now, the Lord was carrying such a huge golden mountain, which was so huge that it could not be supported even by the combined strength of so many Devatas and demons. Was the Kurma Avatara feeling any pain because of holding this Mandara hill on his back? Let us find out this in this verse. It is said, O King Parikshit, Shukadeva Goswami is telling, when the demigods and demons, by the strength of their arms, rotated Mandara mountain on the back of the extraordinary tortoise, the tortoise accepted the rolling of the mountain as a means of scratching his body, and thus he felt a pleasing sensation. Just like when we feel itching, we also scratch. And when we scratch, we feel for time being some pleasing sensation, isn't it? We get some relief from this itching sensation. So that was the experience which tortoise Kurma Avatara was feeling when the two parties were churning the ocean, and because of which the Mandara hill was rubbing against the shell of the tortoise. The Lord tortoise Kurma Avatara was feeling that it was like a scratching on his back, and he was feeling very pleasing experience, pleasing sensation. So Prabhupada writes a wonderful purport, a short purport for this. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always the unlimited. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his body as a tortoise held on his back the largest of mountains, Mandara Parvata, he did not feel any inconvenience. On the contrary, he apparently felt some itching, and thus the rotation of the mountain was certainly very pleasing. So he felt it is very pleasing, right? So this is the reason why we have to understand the various incarnations of the Lord. The Lord may have accepted the form of a tortoise. We might have seen so many tortoises in this material world, but the Lord's form of Kurma is nothing like the ordinary tortoises which we see in this material world. First of all, the huge size, 8 lakh miles, that was the huge size of the tortoise. And on his back, Mandara Hill was standing. And the Mandara Hill's movement created a pleasing sensation. He was not at all affected. There was no, because the Lord's body is transcendental. Sat, Chit and Ananda. There is only Ananda in the Lord's form. Whereas in our material form, there is always dukkha, misery, isn't it? That is the difference we have to understand. Our body is asat, achat, achit, and nirananda. Asat means it is temporary, achit means it is ignorant, full of ignorance, and nirananda means it is full of miseries. Whereas the Lord's form, even though he accepted the form of a tortoise, he was simply enjoying. So this is the, effortlessly he was lifting the Mandara hill. It was not at all a big task for him. So this is the speciality of the Kurma Avatara. So let us continue to the next shloka, text 17. So we are reading from the first canto, third chapter of the Bhagavatam, text 17. Dhanvantaram dvadashamam trayodashamam apayayat suran anyan mohinya mohayan striya. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. In the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari, and in the 13th, he allured the atheists by charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink. So in the 17th shloka, two incarnations are described. Dhanvantari incarnation and Mohini Avatara. Okay. So it is said here, Dhanvantaram Dvadashamam Trayodashamam Evacha. So the 12th and the 13th incarnations are Dhanvantari and Mohini Avatara. Right? Apayayat Suran Anyan Mohinya Mohayan Striyaha. Apayayat means gave to drink. What? The Amrita to the Suras, to the Devatas, and to the other party, that is the demons, Mohinya, Mohayan Striya, the form of the woman, bewildered the demons and gave the nectar to the Devatas to drink. So, let us understand a few things from about the Dhanvantari Avatara. Since here it is very briefly described, again we shall go to the 8th canto of Bhagavatam and we shall read from there about the Dhanvantari Avatara. So Dhanvantari is not so well known incarnation. Dhanvantari Trayodashi, we celebrate Dhanteras during the Diwali time. Dhanteras, 13th day, we celebrate the appearance of Dhanvantari. So Dhanvantari is actually an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And he was the one who actually brought the pot of Amrita towards the end of the Samudra Manthana. The final product of the churning of the ocean of milk was Amrita. With that desire to get Amrita, both of the parties were churning the ocean of milk. And finally, Dhanvantari appeared and he brought the pot of nectar. So let us read some interesting things about Dhanvantari here. It is said, O King Parikshit, Shukadeva Goswami is continuing to narrate. Thereafter, while the sons of Kashyapa, both demons and demigods, were engaged in churning the ocean of milk, a very wonderful male person appeared. So, Purushaha Parama Adbhutaha. So, a wonderful male personality appeared. Now, both the Devatas and the demons are the sons of the same father, Kashyapa Prajapati. So, they were brothers actually. Even though they were brothers, they had opposite qualities. The Devatas were completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord. They were devotees of the Lord. Whereas the demons were completely averse to surrendering or devotional service to the Lord. That is what makes a person Devata or demon. The Padma Purana says, Vishnu Bhaktat Bhavet Daivaha Asuram Tad Viparyayaha. One who is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, he is called as a Devata. Whereas the one who is not a devotee of the Lord, he is called Asura. So birth in a particular family does not matter. Our choice matters. If we choose to surrender to Krishna, then we can also become Devata. Actually, a devotee is by default having the qualities of a Devata because of his rendering service to the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada says this Krishna consciousness movement is meant to create first-class human beings in the society. And the first-class human being is one who has completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord. So we can also surrender to the Supreme Lord and become a Devata. And how to surrender to the Supreme Lord? In this Kali Yuga, a very simple, very powerful method for surrender to the Supreme Lord is the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Simply by chanting this particular Maha Mantra, which is actually the incarnation of Lord Krishna in Kali Yuga, we can actually revive our godly qualities. We can revive our divine relationship with Krishna, and hence we can also gain wonderful, auspicious qualities and act like Devata. Okay, let's see what happened next. Shukadeva Goswami continues to describe about Dhanvantari. So Dhanvantari's description is given. How he was looking, what was his bodily feature? It is described here. Dirgha pivara dor dandaha, kambu grivo arunekshanaha, shyamalaha tarunaha sragvi, sarvabharana bhushitaha. A very beautiful verse describing Dhanvantari Avatara. He was Dirgha Pivara. He had stout and strong, long Dordandaha arms. His arms were stout and strong, they were long. And Kambu Griva, his neck was like a conch shell, very beautiful to look at. Arunekshanaha, his eyes were reddish. Shyamalaha, his complexion was bluish black. Tarunaha, he was very young. Sragvi, he was wearing a nice forest garland. Sarva abharana bhushitaha, he was decorated very nicely with various kinds of ornaments. This is the description of Dhanvantari Avatara. He was strongly built, his arms were long, stout, and strong. His neck, which was marked with three lines, resembled a conch shell. His eyes were reddish, and his complexion was blackish. He was very young. He was garlanded with flowers, and his entire body was fully decorated with various ornaments. Actually, we should meditate on the Lord's form. When we go to the temple to have darshan of the Lord, it is not simply an activity of just gazing mindlessly on the form of the Lord. Having darshan means meditating upon the various transcendental limbs of the body of the Lord. The Lord's body is all spiritual, and the Lord's body is the supreme object of meditation for everyone. And Bhagavatam describes that we should start meditating, or we should start having darshan of the Lord starting from the lotus feet of the Lord. One should not directly put his gaze on the smiling face of the Lord. One should begin his darshan process or meditation on the form of the Lord from the lotus feet of the Lord. Because first we have to surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. And the lotus feet of the Lord are described as the most wonderful boat, by taking shelter of which we can cross over this ocean of material existence very easily. Therefore, our meditation or darshana should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord. The Rig Veda says, Om Vishnoho yat paramam padam sada pashyanti surayaha diviva chakshuratatam tad vipraso vipanyavo jagravavam samindhate Vishnoho yat paramam padam. So the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu are constantly meditated upon by Surayaha, the great Suras, the great devotees, the liberated souls of the Vaikuntha. They are also called Surayaha. These personalities constantly meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord, because the lotus feet of the Lord are called Om Vishnoho Yat Paramam Padam. That is the supreme destination for all living entities. Paramam Padam. Padam means destination, supreme destination. So therefore, we have to begin our darshan from the lotus feet of the Lord, and slowly meditating upon each of the transcendental form or the parts of the transcendental body of the Lord. One should slowly start gazing from the lotus feet, then to the calves of the Lord, then to the thighs, then to the abdomen of the Lord. Then we should gaze at the chest of the Lord, which is the residence of the goddess of fortune. Then we have to see the two arms of the Lord, which is described here as Dirgha Pivara Dordandaha, long, stout, and very powerful, which are capable of awarding all kinds of protection to the surrendered souls. And We should also meditate on the garlands offered to the Lord and to the on the various kinds of ornaments offered on the Lord's transcendental form. In the Bhagavatam, it is said that uh, it is the ornaments which become beautified when they are adorning the form of the Lord. It's not the other way around. Generally, when a person, when a woman or a man puts some kind of ornaments on their body, they become beautiful because of the ornaments. But in case of the Lord, the ornaments become beautiful because they are on the transcendental form of the Lord. Bhushanam, Bhushanangam. The Bhushana, the ornaments, become more beautiful because they are on the transcendental body of the Lord. So, all of these we have to meditate. Then we have to come to the smiling face of the Lord. The smiling face of the Lord awards fearlessness to the devotees. And also, the smiling face of the Lord attracts our attention. When we become attracted to the beautiful smiling face of the Lord, we are saved from getting attracted towards the material beauty of this world. We all want to see some beautiful object. That is our desire, that is our eyes longing. But the most beautiful form to look at is actually the form of Krishna. So, therefore, having darshan of the Lord is not a mechanical act, but it has to be done very consciously. It is a process of meditation on the form of the Lord, right? It is described in the third canto of Bhagavatam by Kapila Muni to his mother Devahuti that one should meditate on the beautiful smile of the Lord, because the smile of the Lord can it can evaporate the oceans of miseries in which we are all drowning currently in this material world. Just by looking at the beautiful smile of the Lord, all our miseries can be completely destroyed. So, therefore, darshanam of the Lord has to be done in this particular way. So, that is a description given here. More description of Dhanvantari is given here in the next shloka. Pitavasa mahoraskaha samrishta manikundalaha snigdha kunchita keshanta subhaga simha vikramaha amrita purna kalasam bibhrad valaya bhushitaha. So if the form of the Lord was simply material, then a liberated personality like Shukadev Goswami would not have taken the trouble of describing the various features of the form of Dhanvantari. The Lord's form is never material. The Lord is always spiritual. Therefore, there is a description given here about the beautiful features of the Lord. Pitavasa, he was wearing yellowish garments. And then Mahoraskaha, his chest was very broad. Maha Uraskaha, Uraska means chest. Chest was very broad. Snigdha Sumrishta Manikundalaha. Sumrishta Manikundalaha. His earrings were very well polished, they were shining, and they were made of pearls. The Lord was wearing, Dhanvantari was wearing pearl earrings. And it was Samrishtaha, Snigdha, it was dazzling, it was actually brilliantly shining. Snigdha Kunchita Keshanta, Kunchita Kesha, he had curly hair. The Lord's hair was curly. And Subhaga Simha Vikramaha, Subhaga, he was actually very beautiful, and the tips of his hair was snigdha. It was actually oiled. So the Lord had applied oil on his hair. Now, another interesting feature is this Dhanvantari is also considered the father of Ayurveda. He is the first person who inaugurated the science of Ayurvedic medicine. And Ayurvedic medicine is the most natural method of curing our ailments. There are no side effects. And all of this is based on, the Ayurvedic treatment is based on the natural herbs provided by the Lord in nature. And Dhanvantari is actually the father of this Ayurveda Shastra. So he is teaching by his personal example that if you follow the Ayurvedic treatment or Ayurvedic natural way of living, so you can also have a healthy physical body with which you can do good sadhana and attain spiritual progress. So he had actually uh, applied hair in his curly hair, applied oil, kunchita kesha, snigdha kunchita keshanta, and then subhaga, Simha Vikramaha, he was strong like a lion. Simha Vikramaha. And he was, what was he holding? Amruta Purna Kalasam. He was holding a uh, jar, a kalasha, filled with Amrita and Bibhrat Valaya Bhushitaha. And he was, in his hands, he was also wearing bangles. Valaya means bangles. And those bangles were actually moving. So here it is said, he was dressed in yellow garments and wore brightly polished earrings made of pearls. The tips of his hair were anointed with oil, and his chest was very broad. His body had all good features. He was stout and strong like a lion, and he was decorated with bangles. In his hand, he carried a jug filled to the top with amrita, nectar. And then it says, Savai Bhagavata Sakshar Vishnor Amshamsha Sambhavaha Dhanvantarir iti Khyata Ayurveda Drig Ijyabhak. So after describing the wonderful male personality who was carrying the Amrita Kalasha in his hand, here Shukadev Goswami is describing who is that person. Here it is said, Savai Bhagavata Sakshar. That personality is indeed Bhagavan. He is the supreme personality of Godhead, Sakshat, himself. And who was he? Vishnor Amshamsha Sambhavaha. He was actually the Amsha of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. He was the expansion of the Supreme Lord, and he is called Dhanvantari iti Khyata. He is very well known. He is celebrated as Dhanvantari, and he is Ayurveda Drik. He was fully conversant in the medical science of Ayurveda, and Idyabhak. He was also one of the devatas eligible to share the benefits of sacrifices. This person was Dhanvantari, a plenary portion of Lord Vishnu. He was very conversant with the science of medicine, and as one of the devatas, he was permitted to take a share in sacrifices. Right? So, here it is one interesting thing. Let us see what happened. Upon seeing Dhanvantari carrying the jug of nectar, the demons, desiring the jug and its contents, immediately snatched it away by force. When the jug of nectar was carried off by the demons, the demigods were morose. Thus they sought shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Now you may ask a question. Just now we discussed that he is the Supreme Lord himself, so he is unlimitedly powerful, and he was carrying the Amrita Kalasha in his hand, Amrita Kalasha Hastaya, he was carrying in his hand. How were the demons, how were they able to snatch away by force the Amrita Kalasha from the hands of Dhanvantari? So the answer to this question, Madhvacharya clarifies, Prabhupada quotes Srila Madhvacharya in the purport, that although he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhanvantari allowed the demons to carry away the nectar forcefully. That means they were not overpowered. I mean, the Lord was not overpowered by the demons, because definitely the Lord is supremely powerful, but he allowed the demons to snatch the part of nectar from his hands. Why? What is the reason? Now, one reason is the devatas should be taught that even though now they have achieved the final result in front of them, Dhanvantari has come with a pot of nectar. The final result is in front of your eyes. But to enjoy that, you need the help of the Supreme Lord. If you read the entire Samudra Manthana Leela, from the start till the end, everywhere it is the uh, Lord's glories, the Lord's power, which is actually highlighted. At every stage, the highlight is we should depend on the Lord. Without the Lord's mercy, no jiva can enjoy anything in this material world. This we have to understand. So the mood of humility and surrender is highlighted in the Samudra Manthana Leela at every step. You may be a very powerful devata, but if I want, I can allow the demons to carry away the nectar pot, and you will be simply watching helplessly. You can't do anything. So, what did the devatas do when the demons took away the pot of nectar from Dhanvantari? Harim Sharanam Ayuyuhu. They all took shelter of Lord Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, through this description of the Samudra Manthana Leela, Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us that we should always remain surrendered to the Supreme Lord. We should never become puffed up by our powers and position. Oh, I can achieve everything, I can do everything. No, unless the Lord sanctions, we cannot achieve anything. This we have to very clearly understand. So now, let's see what happened when all the devatas appealed to the Lord for protection. What did the Lord do? Iti tad dainyam alokya bhagavan bhritya kamakrit ma khidyata mithortham vaha sadhayishye swamayaya. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always desires to fulfill the ambitions of his devotees, saw that the demigods were morose, he said to them, do not be aggrieved. By my own energy, I shall bewilder the demons by creating a quarrel among them. In this way, I shall fulfill your desire to have the nectar. See, very, very important thing. When the Devatas took shelter of Lord Hari, they said, now, see, pot of nectar has come, but the demons have taken away. So please tell us what to do so that we can get this Amrita. So that time the Lord says, by my Maya, I shall bewilder the demons. So from this we understand, Maya is meant for bewildering those who do not want to take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. Maya exists in this world. Maya is also energy of the Lord. And Maya's business is to constantly bewilder those people who do not want to surrender to the Lord. Those who want to enjoy independently, Maya bewilders them. And now the Lord appeared in a very special form in order to bewilder the demons. Right? O King Parikshit, a quarrel then arose among the demons over who would get the nectar first. Each of them said, you cannot drink it first. I must drink it first. Me first, not you. Right? So the Lord, by expanding his Maya, he created an internal conflict, quarrel within the demons. Even though the demons were successful in snatching the pot of nectar, they could not peacefully drink it because by the Lord's Maya, each one started competing against each other. They all started snatching the pot of nectar from each other's hands. So this is the competitive spirit which was existing among them, among the demons, because of the influence of Lord's Maya. Let us read a very nice, beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada to this verse. Prabhupada says, this is the symptom of demons. The first concern of a non-devotee is to how to enjoy his personal sense gratification at once. Whereas the devotee's first concern is to satisfy the Lord. This is the distinction between the non-devotee and the devotee. In this material world, since most people are non-devotees, they regularly compete, fight, disagree, and war among themselves. For everyone wants to enjoy and satisfy his own senses. Therefore, unless such demons become Krishna conscious and are trained to satisfy the senses of the Lord, there can be no question of peace in human society or any society, even that of the demigods. The demigods and devotees, however, always surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus the Lord is always anxious to satisfy their ambitions. While the demons fight to satisfy their own senses, devotees engage in devotional service to satisfy the senses of the Lord. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be alert in regard to this point, and then their preaching of Krishna consciousness movement will be successful. So, very beautiful purport, very important lesson Prabhupada is teaching us. The difference between the demigods and the demons. The demons compete against each other to satisfy their own senses, the demons. Whereas the devotees, they engage in devotional service to the Lord to satisfy the senses of the Lord. What is bhakti? Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. This is the definition of bhakti. Using our senses in the service of the master of the senses, Rishikesha, Krishna, that is called as bhakti. When we think these senses are meant for our own enjoyment, then we are called demons. But when we use our senses in the service of Krishna, then we are called devatas or devotees. So the devotees are eager to serve the Lord, therefore the Lord is equally eager to satisfy their desires. Right? The devotees' desires are never against the wish of the Lord. They are always, the devotees of the Lord know what is proper desire, and they desire only that which is desirable. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Dharma aviruddha kameshu bhuteshu bharatarshapha. I am that kama which is not against dharma, Krishna says. And the devotees know what is to be desired and what is not to be desired. So the devotees' desires, kama, is always in line with dharma. Dharma means the laws given by the Lord. So therefore, since the devotees are always abiding by the laws of the Lord also is very anxious to satisfy the desires of the Lord, of the devotees. The Lord is always anxious to satisfy the desires of the devotees. Therefore, one more important point that the Prabhupada is pointing out in the purport is that the devotees must never quarrel against each other. Because the demons do that. Why should the devotees do that? Devotees do not have any personal agenda. Devotees' agenda is only to satisfy the Lord. Whereas the demons, they want to satisfy their own senses. Therefore, they consider every other person as their competitor. And that is why there is so much fighting and war, all this. Whereas the devotees have Krishna as the common center, as the only center of their life. Therefore, there is no question of conflict or disagreement or fight among the devotees. So Prabhupada is saying all the devotees should cooperate with each other and in this way serve the Lord and also preach the message of Krishna consciousness to everyone. So let's see what happened next. Some of the demons said, I will take another 15 minutes to complete this. Some of the demons said, all the demigods have taken part in churning the ocean of milk. Now, as everyone has an equal right to partake in any public sacrifice according to the eternal religious system, it is befitting that the demigods now have a share of the nectar. O King Parikshit, Shukadev Goswami continued, in this way, the weaker demons forbade the stronger demons to take the nectar. So they were all fighting against each other, debating against each other. At that time, something wonderful happened. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who can counteract any unfavorable situation, then assumed the form of an extremely beautiful woman. This incarnation as a woman, Mohini Murti, was most pleasing to the mind. Her complexion resembled in color a newly grown blackish lotus. and every part of her body was beautifully situated. Her ears were equally decorated with earrings. Her cheeks were very beautiful. Her nose was raised, and her face full of youthful luster. Her large breasts made her waist seem very thin. Attracted by the aroma of her face and body, bumblebees hummed around her, and thus her eyes were restless. Her hair, which was extremely beautiful, was garlanded with mallika flowers. Her attractively constructed neck was decorated with a necklace and other ornaments. Her arms were decorated with bangles. Her body was covered with a clean sari, and her breasts seemed like islands in an ocean of beauty. Her legs were decorated with ankle bells. Because of the movements of her eyebrows, as she smiled with shyness and glanced over the demons, all the demons were saturated with lusty desires, and every one of them desired to possess her. So, this is the description of Mohini Murti, who is actually the internal potency form of the Lord. Now, the beauty of the Mohini Murti is described. Every part of her body is described here. And her various ornaments, the flowers that she was wearing in her hair, the mallika flowers, jasmine flowers, all these are described. None of these descriptions is false because it is pertaining to the beauty of the Lord. Nothing with respect to the Lord is material. Nothing with respect to the Lord is false or fake. Everything about the Lord is sat. It is transcendental. So this is very important for us to understand. So the Lord appeared in a feminine form. Why did the Lord appear in a feminine form? Because the demons, they think that a feminine form is an object of their enjoyment. So this is the thinking of demoniac people. A demoniac male person thinks that every female is meant for my enjoyment, and vice versa. A demoniac female person thinks that every male person in this material world is meant for my enjoyment. This is the thinking of the demons. We see this in the Valmiki Ramayana when Shurpanakha, when she saw in the forest the beautiful form of Lord Ramachandra, immediately she got attracted to the body of the Lord. Actually, Shurpanakha's husband was killed by her own brother Ravana a few days ago. If she was a chaste lady, she should have actually been lamenting for the death of her husband, but she was not a chaste lady. She was actually freely moving about everywhere in search of another husband. This is the idea of demoniac people. So demoniac people simply want some object of enjoyment. And their object of enjoyment is restricted to the material body because they identify themselves with their body. They think I am this body. Since I have got a male body now, I need a female body for my enjoyment. Or vice versa. This is the thinking of demoniac people. So, in order to bewilder these demoniac people, the Lord, the Supreme Lord, appeared in the form of a beautiful woman called Mohini. Mohini means one who bewilders everyone. Jagan Mohini. She bewilders the entire universe. Now, when this Mohini Murti form was seen by the Devatas, there were no lusty desires in their minds. But as soon as the demons saw this beautiful feminine form of Mohini Murti, immediately there were lusty desires in their minds. So, as Lord Krishna explains in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, so this Kama is the greatest enemy of every living entity in this material world. Dushpurena analena cha, Krishna says. Jnana vijnana nashanam. The Kama, lust, destroys one's knowledge, and one's realization. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, if one wants to attain real happiness, one must definitely slay this enemy called karma. And how to slay the enemy called karma? It is possible only when we divert our mind, our attention towards the uh, devotional service to the Lord. When we engage in devotional service to the Lord in the association of devotees, just like we are doing from the past 1 hour, 1 hour we are doing devotional service. What is that? We are chanting and hearing about the glories of the Lord. I am describing, and you are all hearing from Bhagavatam what Srila Prabhupada has explained. This is called Shravanam Kirtanam. Shravanam and Kirtanam are the first two stages or first two steps in bhakti. So, anyone who engages in bhakti, his attention completely in hearing about the Lord and becoming absorbed in Krishna consciousness, such a person can transform kama into prema, pure love for Krishna. Only then we can get rid of this enemy called kama. If we want to slay or destroy this demon of kama, the only way is to develop prema for Krishna. Prema for Krishna is pure, whereas kama, it is bewildering, and kama takes away our good intelligence. Kama bewilders us and keeps us bound to the cycle of birth and death. Whereas prema is completely on the spiritual platform, prema is completely liberating. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years ago, he freely distributed this prema, Krishna prema, to each and every one without any discrimination. So how did he distribute? We all pray to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. So he is the most magnanimous of all incarnations, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he distributed Krishna Prema to everyone. This particular charity was never given by any incarnation prior to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, he is called Mahavadanya Avatara, the most magnanimous, most munificent incarnation. And he is distributing this Krishna Prema. How is he distributing? In the form of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He said, simply chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and you will develop Krishna Prema. So we have to take time every day, chant attentively, with mindfully, soulfully. We should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mechanically, we should not chant. We should chant with the right understanding. Oh, when I'm chanting the holy names of the Lord is present on my tongue. I must give full attention to the Lord. While chanting, I should not be busy in other activities. 100% attention to the Lord. This is the surrender. How to surrender to Krishna in Kali Yuga? Give 100% attention to the holy name when you're chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Full attention. Keep aside your phone. Keep aside all other engagements. Only chant and hear to the holy sound of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And by so doing, very quickly, Mahaprabhu said, we will develop Krishna Prema. And when we develop Krishna Prema, Kama can no longer bother us. Kama can no longer bewilder us. So that is the secret. That is the formula to defeat this Kama. So those who are demons, they are not aware of this secret. So therefore, whenever they see a beautiful woman or whenever they see a beautiful member of the opposite gender, they immediately become lusty. They want to enjoy. So that means a very degraded consciousness. It is animal consciousness. Animals do not have this restriction. Whom to think about in what way, isn't it? Whereas human beings, we are supposed to be civilized. We are supposed to be having proper vision. So for that, the practice of chanting of the holy names of the Lord is the most recommended process. So I'll just read a few more verses and then we shall close. Shukadev Goswami said, thereafter the demons became inimical toward one another Throwing and snatching the container of nectar, they gave up their friendly relationship. Meanwhile, they saw a very beautiful young woman coming forward toward them. Aho rupam aho dhama aho asya navam vayaha iti te tam abhidrutya prapachur jatahruchayaha. Upon seeing the beautiful woman, Mohini Murti, the demons said, Alas, how wonderful is her beauty! How wonderful the luster of her body! And how wonderful the beauty of her youthful age! Speaking in this way, they quickly approached her, full of lusty desires to enjoy her, and began to inquire from her in many ways. They said, Oh, wonderfully beautiful girl, you have such nice eyes, resembling the petals of a lotus flower. Who are you? Where do you come from? What is your purpose in coming here? And to whom do you belong? O you, whose thighs are extraordinarily beautiful, our eyes are becoming agitated simply seeing you. So it is said, Kama Turanam na bhayam na lajja. A person who is under the influence of Kama, he loses all fear and he also loses lajja, shyness, right? Generally, we see that, under the influence of Kama, even big leaders or big, uh, you know, stars, sportsmen, politicians, and influencers in the society, they act in a way which is very heinous. They don't bother. They don't fear what will the public think of them. I'm acting in this way. No, they don't feel that. They also give up all kinds of shyness. That is the influence of Kama. That is what has happened with the Danavas, with the demons. What to speak of human beings, even the demigods, demons, siddhas, gandharvas, charanas, and the various directors of the universe. The Prajapatis have never touched you before. It is not that we are unable to understand your identity. Anyway, so they say all of these things. And finally, let us see what Mohini Murti says. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. See here, very interesting. Even though the Lord has accepted a feminine form of Mohini Murti, Vyasadeva is writing, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, she is saying, O sons of Kashyapa Muni, I am only a prostitute. How is it that you have so much faith in me? A learned person never puts his faith in a woman. So actually all the demons said, see now we are fighting against each other to get this Amrita. Now we saw you, you are more intoxicating than Amrita. Now we have full faith in you. You please take the responsibility of distributing this Amrita among everyone. So they got, in a few moments, they got so much faith. Now this is like, many times people say, no, love at first sight. This is actually not love, it is Kama. It is infatuation, right? So when somebody says, just by seeing once, if somebody says, I have full faith in you, that means they are only interested to enjoy the body, the material body of that person. Because relationship between two individuals, it takes a very, very long time to mature. When somebody says, just by seeing you, I became fully attracted to you. I became attracted to your qualities. When they say that, actually it means they're only interested in the material beauty of that person. So that is what the Mohini Murti is saying. See, I am a woman who roams about carefree. And it is said in the scriptures that a learned person should never put his faith on a woman. So how is that you are putting so much faith on me? With great endeavor, you have got this Amrita Kalasha and you are giving it to me. How can you believe me so easily? Right? Mohini Murti continued, O demons, as monkeys, jackals, and dogs are unsteady in their sexual relationships and want newer and newer friends every day, women who live independently seek new friends daily. Friendship with such a woman is never permanent. This is the opinion of learned scholars. Actually, Mohini Murti is not only telling to the demons, but Mohini Murti is instructing all of us also. Isn't it? We should never make friendship with somebody who is unsteady. who is simply interested in temporary bodily pleasure, a relationship which is merely based on bodily attachment, sexual attraction, Mohini Murthy is saying it is impermanent. The moment there is a slight dissatisfaction, there is breakup, there is separation, divorce that we are seeing, right? We are seeing situationships, nanoships, and all kinds of nonsense, crazy things happening in today's younger generation. And Mohini Murthy is saying, better you stay away from all such nonsense. Shukadev Goswami continued. After the demons heard the words of Mohini Murthy, who had spoken as if jokingly, they were all very confident. They laughed with gravity and ultimately they delivered the container of nectar to her hands. Right? Thereafter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, having taken permission of the container of nectar, possession of the container of nectar, smiled slightly and spoke in attractive words. She said, "My dear demons, if you accept whatever I may do, whether honest or dishonest, then I can take responsibility of dividing the nectar among you." So she is saying you should not question whatever I do. Whomever I want to give, whatever I will give. You should not question. On that condition, I will agree to distribute the Amrita. The chief of the demons were not very expert in deciding things. Upon hearing the sweet words of Mohini Murthy, they immediately assented. Yes, they answered. What you have said is all right. Thus, the demons agreed to accept her decision. So this is exactly what Lord Krishna describes about the effects of karma in the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So because of karma, one's good sense is lost, one's intelligence is lost. One does not know what is correct and what is wrong under the influence of karma. That's what exactly happened with the demons. So in this way, Mohini Murthy bewildered the demons. She got the possession of the Amrita Kalasha, and then she distributed partially. She did partiality. The Lord did partiality. So she gave nectar only to the Devatas, and to the demons she gave them Varuni, a kind of intoxicating beverage. Right? And in this way, she made sure that even though the demons and the demigods had put the same effort, they were doing the same activity at the same time, at the same place. There were so many common features between the demons and the demigods. But still the results were totally different. The Devatas achieved Amrita, whereas the demons did not achieve Amrita. So, two people doing the same, putting the same efforts, using the same instruments, same skills, but still they may get two different results. So the Bhagavatam is highlighting us that one who is favored by the Supreme Lord, he definitely achieves whatever is desired by him. Whereas one who has not taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, even though he may put lot of efforts, one will not get the ultimate success. This is the most important lesson that this pastime of Mohini Murthy is teaching us. Right? If you have to see, in one way, demons also have put the same efforts. Demons also have taken the same trouble to do Samudra Manthana, but still they did not get Amrita. Why? That is explained. That the demons were Narayana Paranmukha. They had turned their face away from the Supreme Lord. Narayana means they had not surrendered to Narayana. Paranmukha means they had turned their face away from the Lord. Whereas the Devatas were Narayana Bhujashrayaha. They were having full faith on the strength of Lord Narayana. So they had fully surrendered to him. Therefore, they achieved the favor of Mohini Murthy and they got the Amrita. So therefore, the Devatas got Amrita by the mercy of the Lord. Now, devotees can drink Amrita every day, many times, many types of Amrita. Right? What is that? First of all, Harinama Amrita. We should every day drink the nectar of the holy names of the Lord. That is Harinama Amrita. Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Then we should hear Krishna Kathamrita from Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. That is another Amrita we should drink. Hear about the instructions of the Lord in Bhagavad Gita and about the pastimes of the Lord as we read today in the Bhagavatam. This nectar we should never miss. A day which is missed drinking this nectar, it's a useless day. The day when you are not drinking this nectar of the holy name of the Lord, Harinamamrita, and the Krishna Kathamrita, it is a useless day. Another Amrita is Krishna Adharamrita, which is the prasadam of the Lord. We should drink, we should eat the prasadam of the Lord. And then Sevamrita, we should engage, we should drink the seva, the nectar of seva of the Lord and his devotees. In this way, our whole day can be filled with simply Amrita, Amrita, Amrita. The Devatas put so much hard work to get the Amrita. We don't have to put so much hard work. By the mercy of our beloved spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, wherever we are, we can relish all these Amritas. Harinama Amrita, Hari Kathamrita, Krishna Kathamrita, and Krishna Adharamrita, that is Prasadam, and Sevamrita, service of the Lord and his pure devotee. So when we do this, our life becomes truly fit for eternal life with the Lord. Right? So therefore, don't miss drinking this Amritas every day and make your life sat. The material so-called Amrita that Maya gives us is actually poison. It looks like nectar, but it is actually poison. Krishna says this in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. That happiness which in the beginning is like nectar, but in the long run which is poisonous, that is actually not real happiness. But in that happiness which in the beginning may be like poison, but in the long run it becomes like nectar, Amrita. That is real happiness. So when we start chanting Hare Krishna, when we start engaging in devotional service to the Lord, it becomes very difficult sometimes. It looks like so difficult, austere. It looks like poison. But when we continue to practice Krishna consciousness, we can actually relish the real Amrita. So we should go on chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and then our sinful tendencies, our offenses, all these poisons will be first removed. Then we will achieve the Krishna Prema Amrita, the nectar of the lotus, the love for the lotus feet of Krishna. Then our life becomes successful. So with this, we close today's session. We will discuss about, I thought of discussing about Lord Narasimha, the next shloka also today, but due to paucity of time, it is not possible. In the next session, we shall continue our discussion of the various incarnations of the Lord. Thank you so much for joining. Please do join me every day at 8 p.m. on the same Google Meet link. The link is the same. So please do join. Do not miss. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna, Prabhu.